Hello everyone and welcome to the Crunch Element Overhaul Update Devlog. I'm extremely excited to share all the new features, fixes, and polish that were involved in the past year or so. But before I jump into that, I just want to say thank you everybody for your patience, because as many of you know, I'm still the solo dev behind Crunch Element, but for this update, I was incredibly fortunate to have the help of an artist who did all the 3D models and textures that you now see, a composer who made some tracks for the Hideout and core gameplay, and also a few dedicated testers who really helped push things forward. So I want to thank you for that, because it was a really small crew working with limited resources, but we set out to build something tactical and also fun, and I believe that this update is a huge step in that direction, and so I'm very, very excited to finally share that. It's definitely come a long way since the dorm room, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. The first new thing is the contract system and the new stages. So missions are now considered contracts, which are jobs or missions that NPCs give you in the world of Crunch Element. Within those contracts, there's one or more stages, which are the actual levels that you play. Some are stealthy, many are loud, and there's even some that are more defense-based. And as you're going through these new stages, NPCs will also help guide you along the way, but also kind of reveal more and more of the world of Crunch Element, because up to this point, there really was no story at all, but now there's actually a world that everything takes place in. These stages can be selected in the Hideout, very similar to before, but with a reworked UI and progression system, so now you'll be able to replay stages for a higher mastery, allowing you to level up faster. The Hideout has also been reworked, and it's definitely a much more social place too.
I haven't played VR in so long.
So whether you're waiting for your friends or you just got back from a mission, this is a great place to cool off, have some fun, shoot the breeze, especially in the new expansion of the Hideout, which is called the Cantina. Specifically the War Room, which is the cantina style bar where players can talk. You can also enjoy some music at the jukebox, and even challenge your friends at a game of darts, which is way more difficult than it looks. Once you've selected a contract, you can head into the new hangar area, where you can step inside the new transport vehicle, which will infill and exfil you and your squad to get exactly where you need to be. There's also a new tutorial section for new players and old players to learn the updated mechanics of Crunch Element. Everything from breaching to shooting to weapon interaction is in there, so you have an up-to-date knowledge of how everything works. There's also a new progression system in Crunch Element, which now allows players to progress and actually be rewarded for their mastery within levels, and also the favorite kind of gear that they use. So you'll see when I jump on this ship to complete the stage, it will show my rating as well as my XP level and anything that attributed that XP during the stage. It'll also give me some nice pop-ups showing me if I've unlocked anything. You can access your loadout at any time from your handheld menu instead of having to run back to the terminal, and here you can select your weapon, attachments, gear, etc., and be able to customize them. You can actually do this from anywhere in the game, it's just that those changes will only apply on respawn. There's also a separate progression system for weapons and gear as opposed to your general player level. So as you progress through stages, that will give you general XP to unlock new items, but when you use those specific items, you unlock new attachments through a certain number of kill challenges, as you can see here. Obviously, I've played through it a lot, but you can see that some parts are still locked. There's also a new keycard system, which you can see here, where you need to find the right card to match the color of the reader, which opens up some interesting gameplay, as we'll see. The objective system has also been reworked, so there's new objectives such as the new hacking station, grabbing certain items, socketing certain components, and there's really a whole lot of them compared to the previous version because of how the system was rebuilt and how modular it is. So it could be eliminating certain groups of enemies, or even doing one-off puzzles, or grabbing certain objects to complete those objectives and also tasks. So now there's just a lot more to do in each stage in order to complete it. Some of those objectives are also optional, such as the one you can see here, which is disabling the enemy turrets. It's not critical to complete the mission or even get a high rank, but it definitely will make your life easier. Because these stages are much longer than before, there's a new way to get items, which are these crates that can be opened by touch and provide ammo, explosives, and health items along the way. As you just heard there's new sound effects for getting shot at. If you're getting shot nearby, you hear this bullet cracking sound, and if you're getting shot and hit, then you'll hear all of this destruction and snapping to really just intensify the experience of getting shot at. There's also a new zip line, which makes things much quicker to get around, especially on longer stages. And there's also the brand new elevator, which you can get into with your squad. But be careful, because once those doors open, you do not know what's on the other side. And as you've already noticed, there's also a massive visual update to Crunch Element. Everything from enemies to weapons, player models, terrains, interiors, and breaching and effects. Pretty much everything has been reworked from the ground up to not only look great, but more importantly, or I should say just as importantly, be extremely performant for VR. So as you'll see here, we have all these different kinds of lights, dynamic objects, breachable walls. All of that now uses 100% pre-computed lighting. Before, the way to get effects like this, where when you breach a wall, the debris looks the same way as the lights, or how you're holding a gun, it reflects the light, all of that had to be done through really computationally expensive real-time lights. But now, because all of that is 100% pre-computed, it is lightning fast compared to what it was before. In fact, I'd love to make a devlog just going over this system because of how much work went into it, but also how proud I am of the result. So even in scenes like this, where there's just a ton of destruction or a lot of different objects at play, it actually runs buttery smooth compared to what it would be like in the past. Now for the big one. The complete enemy AI rework, which was, I would say, the most requested improvement and also the most necessary. It did take, I think, the most time to add, but that was expected because, in my opinion, it also adds the most value out of everything, where now they search tactically. If you're shooting, let's say, a gun, they'll search the area based on that. They'll send out a coordinated search party, not just everyone. They'll react to sounds, sights, etc., and also try to catch you off guard by hiding behind covers and corner as well. As you can see here in this clip, I just killed this enemy, made myself known with these explosives, so another one, as he's investigating, throws over a grenade to attempt to flush me out of the position. It's also very easy to get caught off guard, especially in open rooms. So you'll notice I shoot at the enemy on the stairs, break my way down this hatch to try to get a better angle, but he's already advanced up to this cover as others attempt to flank me and close in on the position. They're definitely unforgiving, but in a really fun way to fight against because they'll pop out, throw grenades, pop back into cover. They'll move behind your back. If you're missing for a little bit, they'll take that into account. And really, it was just enjoyable too as a dev just to see their emergent behavior as they play. So for example, you can see I'm out of ammo. In the distance, an enemy throws a grenade at me, which I quickly kill. But right in the corner of the screen, you can see another enemy sneak by as the door's closing and attempts to engage me at my position. And as I was fighting them, the original enemy in the back has now moved up. It's also much more rewarding to play in a stealthy style because, unlike before where all enemies would converge on your position, you can kill an enemy even if they see you and are raising their gun or they're suspicious, as long as you do it before they broadcast to the rest of the enemies. Enemy reinforcements also come now through pipes, barracks rooms, and even drop pods from the skies on certain levels. Usually it happens from being detected or completing a certain task or objective. If you're quick though, usually there's an opportunity to actually shut off the drop pods and call them off, as long as you can find where they're being broadcasted from. There's also new enemy types. So there's the assaulter, which you've seen, and the new bomber enemy who has an explosive on his back which will detonate if you either get charged by him or you shoot him when he's alerted. Definitely not something you want to see behind a door or a breachable wall. As long as you keep your distance or maintain stealth with a good aim, you should be okay. Just don't get caught with an empty mag. There's also new security cameras, which, although they don't damage you, they broadcast your position once they lock on, allowing all the other enemies to know exactly where you are. There's also new enemy turrets that fire at you with either small caliber ammo or fire at you with high explosive ammo, making it almost impossible to cross unless you know where the switch is to turn them off. Weapon interaction and aiming has also been improved, where now everything is more grab friendly. You can check and do a press check to see if there's a round in the chamber. Grab zones for things like scopes, charging handles, magazines, and grips also were updated so that there's not conflicts between what you're trying to grab. You'll notice that also these weapons behave exactly as a real-life counterpart would, where you can eject rounds manually with the charging handle or bolt, and after you fire the weapons, if you perform a press check, you can neither see the round in the chamber or a magazine, informing that you need to reload exactly as it would be in real life. The other improvement is on the ammo pouch, as you can see here, which just makes it much easier to manage ammo, especially in a really tense scenario. And the way that it works is quite simple. Essentially, you have 3 types of ammo, and whenever you drag in either a magazine that has ammunition or an ammo box that you find in the level, it adds to your ammo count. So whenever you reach for a new mag, it simply subtracts that ammo that you used. There's also a new cosmetic system that allows you to choose your favorite hat or headgear that you've unlocked through whatever specific challenge was required to make that happen. There's also a new armor system that can be accessed in your loadout menu that allows you to choose between light, medium, and heavy armor with varying damage and movement speed trade-offs. There's also the brand new Sentinel turret, which was my favorite item to develop and use by far, and you can probably see why.
Oh shit. You got a turret? Wait, you're controlling a turret? No way! Wait, whoa, hold on. Wait, no way. There's no way! That's sick!
This one actually has 3 hard points that you can unlock as attachments to select. The first one is the minigun, which essentially rains bullets wherever you fire, and you can control that by the handheld tablet, which you can also use for placement. So this can tear through light walls, windows, and of course enemies. The next hardpoint for the Sentinel turret is the anti-material cannon. This one has more limited ammo, but increased damage and greatly increased range. In fact, you can zoom in on the tablet by using the left trigger and actually use it as a makeshift sniper, which you can access remotely. Finally, the last hardpoint for the Sentinel is the high explosive hardpoint. This does exactly as you would expect, and it's as satisfying as you would expect. It shoots 40mm high explosive grenades, which detonate to breach walls and, of course, ragdoll enemies across the room. There's also the new reworked BZ-40 grenade launcher, which has 4 ammo types to choose from. The first one is high explosive, which can breach a wall, allowing you to get an angle to shoot through and, of course, kill enemies. There's the cluster shot, which impacts when it hits a hard surface, breaking up to 3 smaller grenades, which are great for clearing rooms. The third ammo type for the BZ-40 is the breaching round. This one is very useful for breaching, especially if you're solo, because you can stick it on a wall, have time to switch to your main gun, and then be able to breach in a really swift way. It also works on windows and embeds itself into the glass, and in that case it won't go through the window. The final ammo type is the most powerful airburst shell. This one can actually be shot through glass windows and only detonates when it's a certain distance from either an enemy or a hard surface. This one makes it extremely powerful for breaching, as well as killing enemies that are hiding behind cover. And of course, it has a very big breaching radius. The only thing you have to be careful of is now you're exposed because that whole wall is no longer there. The breaching hammer also got a major rework. So it's no longer just a metal stick that you can break things with. Of course, you can still do that on barricades, light walls, and even destructible crates, but now it has a charging ability. So if you hold the trigger in either hand, you can charge up the energy in the hammer, and as you swing, once you release the trigger, it will detonate an explosive that doesn't hurt you, but definitely tears down walls and also puts enemies in their place. Although I wouldn't use this on bomber enemies, and I also probably would be very careful unless I had a teammate watching over me, especially if I breach a whole wall and I'm exposed. The last item that has been reworked is the deployable shield. Before it was just the breaching shield, which would block enemy bullets, but now not only can you shoot enemies from behind the shield, you can also place it by holding trigger and pick it up when you're ready to move forward. It also works surprisingly well for breaching, although unlike the hammer where you have that additional explosive charge, this can still get you through light walls if you hit enough spots, especially if you have a teammate watching your back. There's also the new force field grenade, which can be equipped as a high-level item or found in crates along the stages. This creates a force field that prevents enemies from shooting through at you, which is a great positional defense that you can have, especially with multiple teammates. However, just keep in mind it's not indestructible since grenades and bombers can still go through. The C4 has also been reworked, so now it's timer activated. Just turn the dial for your time that you want, press the trigger to arm it, or press the trigger again to disarm it. It can also be thrown on any surface and detonated when the timer is up, and the wall charge still has its clacker, which serves a different purpose. There's also now new consumable items, such as the Fahrenheit energy drink, giving you a speed boost, and the Munch Crunch bar, which gives you a slight health boost of 25 HP. The S12 shotgun also got a model rework, and not only that, but it now supports ammo types. So there's the standard buckshot ammunition, which are the red rounds as you can see here, but they still have their distance, unlike a lot of other games which make shotguns irrelevant over, let's say, 10 meters. However, if you do want that distance, you can unlock and equip the slug rounds, which do exactly as you would expect. It's a single heavy-hitting round that has more distance, but a lot of bullet drop as well. So if you can land shots on that, you're going to be doing quite a bit of damage. The other guns also have ammo types, which are the standard ammo and the tracer ammo. This is subject to change, but the standard ammo is raycast based, meaning it will hit its target instantly. It'll still do bullet penetration, but it will have less damage than the tracer rounds, which you can see here, that have travel time and bullet drop, which give the benefit of additional damage. Weapons all now have a modification slot where you can choose between increased accuracy or increased damage. This, I think, will be a good system to expand on as well. The scanner is a new high-level attachment which allows you to see enemy positions even through walls on the scanner, which is attached to the rail on a gun. This makes breaching as well as stealth gameplay much easier and also much more satisfying since you know exactly where all the enemies are. The scanner has a short radius and the direction depends on where you're aiming the gun, but once enemies are close enough, they will appear as red dots on the scanner and also beep to alert where they are. There's now a new thermal scope that you can equip, which makes spotting enemies much easier compared to something like the low-powered variable optic. This is useful on darker scenes or areas, or even when there's just a lot of chaos and visual effects going on. There's also a few new prototypes that are more experimental but find their way within the scenes. The first one is the airstrike grenade, which once thrown, drops a very satisfying and intimidating airstrike on the enemy position. And the second prototype equipment is the first-person view head-mounted missile. This one you can control with your head direction once you arm it, and you can press trigger to boost it towards enemies or walls, whatever you want to destroy. Again, these are subject to change just because of how experimental they are, and they might even be expanded in the future, but keep an eye out on those crates you run through because chances are you'll find them if you look hard enough. There's also the security tablet, which appears in the Broken Ground contract. This one could also be expanded on in the future and allows you to see enemy positions and even friendly positions from the tablet itself. So that's a wrap on the Overhaul update. I really look forward to hearing your feedback. You can leave that on Discord, on the new feature-based board, or on social media as well. By the way, if you still have the itch for the old version and you want to jump in for nostalgia's sake, that version can always be accessed on Steam as the Legacy branch. Finally, I just want to thank you all again. This took quite a big amount of effort, but not only is it more fun, in my opinion, but it also makes it easier to add on into the future. So I'll be posting more soon, most likely technical breakdowns as well, since I really enjoy doing those. And be sure to check out the Crunch Element X account, my personal dev X account, where I do a lot more behind the scenes stuff, and of course, hop in the Discord as well to join the conversation.